What's up everyone, Brian Phobos here, and I just want to talk a little bit more about the Trevon James, Craig Grant, and then some of these other guys like Tanner J. Fox and all the hacks that have occurred lately. And from a technical perspective, from a security perspective, from the phone carriers, and kind of bringing in that expertise. So I did some security consulting with Verizon Wireless and with some other mobile carriers on this situation, and basically to beef up security practices and to make it so that this kind of thing is less likely. But there are fraudsters calling in constantly into the call centers. There's fraudsters going into the stores. And we're going to get a little bit more into that. Now, if you're just tuning in, basically Trevon James got his YouTube account hacked and then got a bunch of coins stolen from his Exodus wallet. And then the supposed hacker put up a video kind of taunting Trevon James and Craig Grant, and I was able to video that. That's on my channel, and that video was called Show's Over, where but Trevon essentially lost 111 Bitcoin in this, as you can see there, out of the Exodus wallet. And then also Trevon was on Instagram Live when it happened. I found that out later. I actually recorded some of the stuff from Instagram Live before that went down, because it's only up for 24 hours. So you can watch some of that after about 10 minutes. I've got it, and he popped back on Instagram Live and then showed that suddenly there was 397 Bitcoin in his wallet, and he was super confused. And then he tried to move one out to Coinbase, and it wasn't showing up on a block explorer, and all this and that. Now there's a lot of people saying this is a tax fraud. That they're basically, trying to use the excuse that they've been hacked as tax evasion. And then if the IRS comes knocking, then they'll say, I got hacked. I even put up videos about it. I lost control of my YouTube channel, yada, yada, yada. Again, I think there's a 50-50 chance that they did get hacked, a 50% chance that they didn't. But is it plausible, and how could this have happened as far as, Verizon Wireless or any other mobile carrier and their practices of obviously not letting people, in to activate different phones onto the carrier? So let's take a look at how this happened. So DJ, and I hadn't seen his channel before, but I watched a video of his about this subject. He did a very good job. I actually just subscribed to him, and he has an IT background as well, and he described basically that the hacker's phone right here, that they are able to activate it on the line and on the phone number of the person they're trying to hack. Therefore, then they'll go over to Gmail, go over to the Google accounts and say, oh, I forgot my password. Then Gmail is going to send the two-factor authentication text over to the phone that now they're actually controlling on this other device, and the person who's being hacked, their phone has essentially been deactivated from the network, so they wouldn't be able to make calls or anything. And then they're able to authenticate, change the password in the Google account, and all that stuff like that. And then also, they might have passwords saved, or they've got two-factor authentication with that same phone number set up for their banking accounts, whether it's Chase, Wells Fargo, whatever. Then also another great thing that DJ said is that people have stuff saved, their passwords and stuff in their Chrome browser, and that might automatically get them into different bank accounts. So great eye there, and he's spot on with that. Now, there's been some questions, could it have been a clone phone? Clone phones were more, that actually happened a lot more with 3G phones. Trevon, Craig, they're going to be using 4G phones. That's a lot more implausible with 4G. It's more plausible that they activated a different phone on their line and pretended to be them. That actually makes a lot more sense. Now, we're going to get into some of the policies and how somebody could do that and how easily they could do that in a little bit. But, well, let's go ahead and get into it now, and I'll kind of show you. There's a lot of unanswered questions, essentially. So how did the hackers control the Exodus wallet? So if you watched this video, it was basically taunting and showing the coins, you know, that were removed. And it was like, well, how did they have a screen capture? Were they in these guys' computers? Were they in Craig Grant's computer? Were they in Trevon's computer? And initially when I watched it, I was sitting there thinking that like maybe they got in through remote desktop. But the thing that's not as plausible is, okay, so RDP, you know, remote desktop protocol, basically, you know, people are going to have a client on most setups where it's Mac OS X, Windows, or Linux or Unix. But as far as running a server, you have to kind of initiate that on the Windows side of things and, you know, be running the server so that other people can connect to you. Now, did Craig do that at some point on his Windows machine, or did some of these other guys like a Tanner J. Fox do that? Maybe, but that's a little less likely. Trevon's machine, he was using a MacBook or something. So it's a little bit more implausible that somebody would connect, you know, to it through RDP, that he was running an RDP server. That's probably unlikely. It's port 3389, and as far as exploits and stuff that somebody's able to maybe get in through it, it's still gonna have to be running the RDP server. So it's that way is a little bit unlikely. Also, people mentioned keyloggers. Could there be a keylogger? I think that's a little more plausible for Craig's machine. It was a Windows machine. Trevon's machine, being Mac OS X, a little bit, it's not as plausible that there was a keylogger. I think that, again, this is the most plausible route, that they did in fact social engineer and get another phone activated onto Trevon and Craig's, you know, like basically onto their phone line with their phone number. So let's talk about some of the security practices, you know, that take place at a place like Verizon or other cell phone carriers. And keep in mind, I'm going to bring this little cheat sheet over here. I just got these crappy little notes. Keep in mind that a lot of people at a call center are an in-store agents. A lot of times it'll be their first job out of high school. There's a lot of like 18, 19, 20-year-olds. It's not a very high-paying job, and the turnover is insane. Call center agents get a lot of very disgruntled customers who are really pissed off about their bill and stuff like that. There's a high turnover rate. So it's not, don't think of it as some kind of like job that people would have for a long duration career. Most people are trying to get the hell out of there. And let's just be honest, like people are coming to work drunk, they're coming to work high, you know, they're trying to mac on chicks in between calls. You know, let's just be honest with ourselves. So let's talk about the 3 ways that a person could call in and get access to the call center. So let's say somebody calls in and they're going to get a screen pop if it's coming from the phone number that's associated with an account. And at that point, you know, it's going to be like, oh, what's your PIN number? And then, you know, it can't be stuff like 1, 2, 3, 4. It can't be repeat numbers like 5555. And, you know, DJ, he made a good point. A lot of times it might be a birthday, it might be the last 4 of a social security number, or it could be the last 4 numbers on the actual phone number. And I think in a lot of call centers, because we did see this when we were consulting with Verizon, that people would use the last 4 digits. And I think that call center agents will hear somebody else say that, like, well, you could use the last 4 digits of your phone number. And then the customer's like, oh yeah, that makes sense. And they'll do that. And then another call center agent will hear that and they'll parrot that to their customer. Then the next time somebody's trying to think up a PIN. So it kind of gets propagated, and then you get a large percentage of customers with a PIN that's not super secure like that. That's, you know, just the last 4 digits of the phone number. So again, kind of like he said, they could have guessed it, but the thing is you'll get, the call center agents will get a screen pop if there's like a repeat caller calling in, and if they look in the notes and they're like, why is this person called in to different call centers? But you got to understand, there's like 24 Verizon call centers across the nation. You're not just calling into one place. You're calling into all different places. And there's a lot of third-party call centers. It's not all Verizon employees. There's all these third-party call centers that may or may not uphold kind of the same maybe as strict a practices as maybe a Verizon call center. Maybe, maybe not. I mean, the Verizon call centers get paid more than the third-party people, so you're going to have a higher turnover at the third party. So the next thing is, if they don't know their PIN, they're going to text them a temporary PIN to the customer's number. Now, the plausible excuse for this, if a hacker's calling in, they could say, oh, I dropped my phone in the water, it's not working, and then it would be like, well, is there somebody else on that same line? Let's just pretend Trevon's girlfriend or wife, let's say she has a phone on that same account. Then a plausible thing, if it's really Trevon, would be, well, is there another person who's also on the same account that we can text their number, that you're right there with them? And if it was a legit situation, you'd probably be like, oh yeah, my girlfriend or my wife, go ahead and text that number. It ends in, these 4 digits, and then they would text that, and then it would be kind of like extra verification. Like, okay, it's a legit story. He really did drop his phone in the water. Third route in is the account number. Now, I feel like the account number situation, a little bit insecure. It's like, how would a hacker get the account number on a bill? Like, it'll be on the bill. They could dumpster dive or potentially get in the mailbox. And you say well, they could have reverse engineered him, knew where he lived, kind of knew how old he was. They'd probably be able to figure out his birthday, kind of do a background search. It doesn't really cost that much, and be able to find information on where he lives. And then they could be sitting there camping out, grabbing mail. Who knows? For $900,000, a hacker might do that. They might dumpster dive. So I'm not ruling that as the top thing. And then here is, if you go into a Verizon store, you've got the 3 main ways. Either you know your PIN number, but if you don't know your PIN number, you forgot it. You can do the temporary PIN, but okay, what if your phone was water damaged? You can't get the temporary PIN on that phone. Say you don't know the account number, ID or driver's license, okay? Seems pretty foolproof, but really when it boils down to it, for $900,000, a hacker would probably be willing to send somebody in or send themselves in with a fake ID. I mean, college students have fake IDs all the time, and those are actually a little bit more scrutinized than it's going to be scrutinized in a Verizon store or another mobile carrier. Because, you look at bars, they have the swiper or the black light it, all that stuff. A Verizon store agent's not going to do that. They're going to look at it and be like, oh, okay, And here's another thing, just in our politically correct nature of just kind of the way our country is going. Let's say if a dude walked in, and his beard's 6 inches long, and he says his name's, Jackie or Kelly, I'm Kelly Smith. And then the agent could be like, wait a minute. But then, you can't discriminate against people. Or if somebody calls in over the phone, they're like, yeah, my name's Jackie Miller. You can't sit there and say, no, I don't think you sound like a woman. You can't discriminate as a call center agent or an in-store rep. So I know that seems like it lets a lot of things kind of open up, but they don't want to be on the hook for discriminating against people and this and that. So going forward, I would say plausible route, potential dumpster diver, trying to get it. They could have guessed it, like DJ said. They could have tried the last 4 digits of the thing, last 4 digits of the phone number. Try to see if they got it that way. Figured out his birth date. They know he's probably about 27, 28. Knows he lives in South Carolina. Probably reverse engineered him maybe. Got that information. Then you got 2 plausible things. You got the last 4 digits of the phone number. You got the birth date. Maybe they got it through that. They could have dumpster dove. Could have created a fake ID and went into a store. And then they go, oh, I've got this other phone here. It's my sister's, and the Verizon store agent, you get a free SIM card. The SIM card is not specific to, maybe the person's account or whatever, but once you have the SIM card, so you need 2 things to activate the phone. You need the device ID and you need the SIM card. The device ID is the IMEI and then the SIM card is the ICCID. And either over the phone or in store, they will place those numbers into the system and activate the phone. And as soon as the phone syncs with the towers and everything, everything's ready to go. And I could definitely see how somebody could social engineer their way, or, you know, kind of convince an in-store agent or over the phone agent that they were a legit customer who just water damaged their phone. You know, it's very, very plausible. It happens all the time. And, you know, maybe it was a newer agent that kind of let it slip through and didn't even validate properly. But there's a lot of controls in place to prohibit somebody just kind of like circumventing the system. There is a couple ways, but yeah, a lot of agents don't really know about it, especially initially, and a lot of that stuff's been locked down. So that being said, is the hack plausible through this method, social engineering? Yes, it is. Again, I think it's 50% possible that this was to create drama and create attention, and that the hack is sort of fake, or it's a, you know, tax related, you know, they're trying to elude the tax, you know, the IRS and stuff like that, or it really did happen. Now, how did they get the guy's phone numbers? I guess in BitConnect it shows the whole like downline, so somebody up above them had the number. And again, if they hack somebody else and the person's on an Android phone, they got all the contacts, and then we're able to kind of work from there. So yeah, that's pretty much it. Now, so with the Exodus wallet, how did they control the Exodus wallet? Now, if you have ever I've never really recovered. I just looked into it, and going through the process of, you know, backing up an Exodus wallet. Number 2 was setting a password. Number 3 was the 12 password phrase, the 12-word phrase like a mnemonic seed. And then 4 was basically this backup link sent to the email. Now, if you go through the email route, you have to put in the password. But if you have that seed, you don't need the password. And if you have the private keys, you don't need the password. Now, why would the seed or the keys be in Trevon's email, or why would it be on his Google Drive? Probably, and this is a very plausible explanation, he probably thought in his head, well, what if I lose my laptop or it gets stolen? And, you know, maybe he did put the keys on a thumb drive or something like that and had it at home, but he also might have emailed himself thinking, well, I've got a passcode on my phone. Nobody's going to be able to get in my phone if they actually physically got it. And then if I lost my phone, I would end up getting another one from Verizon or whatever carrier's on. And I'll go ahead and activate that, and then I'll have the number, but nobody would be able to do the two-factor authentication. I've got that all set up. And the one thing that they didn't think of is somebody activating another phone, pretending to be them, and activating a different phone under their number, and then everything else fell like dominoes. And then let's say, again, if you have the seed that they might have stored on their Google Drive or sent to themselves an email, you don't need if you recover from the seed, from the 12-word recovery phrase, you don't need the password. So restore from backup, 12-word recovery phrase, you put it in, boom, recovered. So how did they get the screen capture for this? Once they got that stuff, they brought up a blank Exodus wallet, brought up basically the history, behind that, wallet, recovered it, basically made it look just like it did on Trevon and Craig's computers, and then moved the coins elsewhere, maybe tumbled them, mixed them, did whatever they did, and got them out. Otherwise, it could be Craig and Trevon just, kind of creating a bunch of drama. But I think it's 50-50. What do you guys think? Thanks for watching the video. Check out the other videos if you're kind of getting up to speed. And again, DJ did a great job doing his explanation. And also, you know, recommended hardware wallets, maybe even having a burner phone that you use for two-factor authentication that nobody else uses. I know it seems a lot, but I mean, these guys were holding, you know, literally like combined millions of dollars within these wallets. Trevon got to 111, hacked from him. You know, obviously silly. People sort of expected it. You don't keep all your eggs in one basket. You know, split them up in hardware wallets, paper wallets, yada, yada, yada. Maybe have a burner phone for the two-factor authentication, use different passwords, different email addresses. Just keep everything to where you can't just make it fall like dominoes. So anyway, thanks for watching the video. Happy Thanksgiving. We actually have rolled over to the next day. It is Thanksgiving Day here in Arizona. And, you know, please subscribe to the video, like the video, and then follow me on all social media. I'm at Brian Phobos on Steemit, Twitter, Instagram. You know, connect to my YouTube channel here. And you guys have a great night and great day tomorrow for Thanksgiving. See you guys later.